It seems like the Nintendo Switch 2 is doing a lot right. A lot of people wanted a dedicated voice chat for the original Nintendo Switch instead of using some sort of mobile app for communication or talking with people. And the fact that this console has it is definitely telling us that Nintendo is going the right direction with this console. However, there are a few things that I do feel like are missing with the Nintendo Switch 2, where there's just some things that are just super obvious that Nintendo hasn't revealed yet and could be possible. But regardless, in this video, I want to go over 10 features that I feel like that the Nintendo Switch 2 needs. With that being said, I'm the biggest nub on YouTube, Christendo, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to the channel as it helps me out a ton. My goal is to try to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and your subscription can help me get one step closer to that goal. While you're at it, if you want to talk to me and others about all things Nintendo, consider joining the Chris Discord server. The link is down in the description. Now let's get into the first thing that I think, and I'm sure many of you as well think, should be on the Nintendo Switch 2, obviously being theme. The fact that we're going into the Nintendo Switch 2 without knowing that there's going to be themes is honestly kind of like, why? It's one of the most requested features with the Nintendo Switch. The fact that we got this whole themes category and all we got was basic black and basic white on the original Switch and no other themes outside of that for a whole 8 years is insane. So the fact that Nintendo hasn't shown off themes is kind of concerning because like when it comes to themes, I feel like that those are like some of the easiest things they could integrate. Like they could literally just do a simple color swap for themes. They could just have like a blue or a red color swap and that could be their themes. Or if they want to go crazy with it, they can have game dedicated themes. But regardless, I feel like that Nintendo needs to add themes to Nintendo Switch 2, or else we're going to go another 8 to 10 years of non-stop hearing about this. Moving into number 2, we got music app functionality. If you don't remember, or if you just don't know in general, Nintendo released the Nintendo Music app on smartphone devices late last year. I think it was like in October 2024. And since then, it's been a cool thing, but personally, outside of a few times, I haven't really used the app. So imagine if Nintendo integrated this app into the Switch 2. Imagine you're able to listen to Nintendo music on the Switch 2 when you're playing games, instead of having to have like one headphone or one earbud in on your phone, and then the other on your Switch 2 while you're playing so you can hear music. Imagine it's just built into the console. I don't think Nintendo is gonna add anything like Spotify or Deezer for those people that use it on the Switch 2. So they add their own music streaming platform, if you want to call it that, onto the console would be a nice change, and it could definitely make for, I guess, the experience of using this console when you want to just listen to music while you're playing your games a whole lot better, instead of just having to use your phone and then also your Switch at the same time. It would just be nice to have this all into the system. Number 3 is better Joy-Cons, which we seem to be getting, but more specifically, Joy-Cons that don't drift. When it comes to the Switch 2 Joy-Cons, I think they're called like the Joy-Con 2s, they seem to be taking a lot of like the criticisms that people had with the original Joy-Cons, like the size and the shoulder buttons on the Joy-Cons being small, because they made the Joy-Cons bigger and they also made those shoulder buttons bigger as well, which is really nice. But especially with it being confirmed that these Joy-Cons don't have Hall effect on them, which basically, long story short, makes it so that Joy-Cons don't drift. I'm kind of concerned that there's a possibility that Joy-Con drift might be happening with the Joy-Con 2. However, I am hopeful that Nintendo took the criticism and all the backlash that they got with the Joy-Con drift on the original Joy-Cons, and they went in and improved these Joy-Cons to make it so that they don't drift. But since we don't know for sure, this is definitely one of the biggest things I think the Nintendo Switch 2 needs. On the topic of things that I think that the Switch 2 needs, we have dedicated online servers. If you've ever played Super Smash Bros. Ultimate or Mario Maker 2, it can be a lag fest. Even if you have pretty good internet connection, if anyone that you're playing with, especially when you're playing like 4 people battles on Smash, or if you're playing like the online versus mode on Mario Maker, if even one person has bad Wi-Fi connection and is like running their Switch through a potato router, the entire experience is ruined for everyone. So because of that, and it seems like Nintendo is focusing more on the online experience as we see with Game Chat, I think that dedicated online servers is a must-have for the Switch 2, because especially with online multiplayer gaming becoming bigger and bigger as the days come, if we don't have dedicated online servers on Switch 2, it's going to lead to the user experience being completely horrendous. And I'm just really hoping that with the Switch 2, they change that and we're not doing peer-to-peer and instead have dedicated servers when we're playing games online. Anyways, moving into a bit of a smaller one with number 5, we have the return of Nintendo Selects, or just straight up game sales more often. Because when it comes to the original Switch, I feel like that games don't really go on sale super often. Like, sure, there is a good couple times a year that a couple games may go on sale, but especially a couple years after a game comes out, I feel like that a Nintendo Selects version where it's a little bit cheaper should have happened with the Switch, especially even like near the end of the console's life. But I'm just hoping that with Switch 2, maybe like a couple years after Mario Kart has been out and the people that are dedicated fans of the Mario Kart series have got their game, a couple years later, maybe they come out with like a cheaper version where it's like a Nintendo Selects version. That'd be kind of nice because that would, one, encourage people to pick up games that they may not have originally wanted to pick up because of the price, and two, it will boost sales for Nintendo, which, of course, it's what they want. They may lose out on a little bit of money if they're selling games at a lower price, but you know what? They're still going to be making money from those games anyways, so I don't see why they don't do these sales or bring back Nintendo Selects, and I really hope that they do that with Nintendo Switch 2. On the topic of something returning, number 6 is the return of a Miiverse type platform. If you don't know what Miiverse is, it was essentially kind of like a Twitter or Facebook on the Wii U where you were able to talk about games and get some like tips here and there about games that you're playing and just talk to communities of players that are also enjoying the games that you're playing. And I really hope that they bring this back in some sort of fashion with the Switch 2. I know that the big reason that Nintendo took this down was because that moderating this kind of social media platform, if you want to call it that, is just insane. So it would just be a lot of work. But I feel like if they could somehow make it so that it's filtered, it could definitely be a lot better of an experience. And, you know, just being able to talk to people natively through the Switch 2 about the games that you're playing, and it being like through kind of like a Twitter type of system would be really nice, because Twitter is honestly such a bad site at this point. It's just flooded with just nonsense, and just being able to talk exclusively to Nintendo fans about Nintendo things on the console would just be nice. So I really hope that if it's not Miiverse, that they just bring something back that's similar to it. Anyways, number 7 is Street Pass. I feel like that with the Switch 2, a lot of people are going to be using this console on the go, and having a feature like Street Pass where you're able to exchange Miis as well as like interact with other people through games that have Street Pass functionality would honestly be really sick for this console, because I know that especially with this console being a portable console, that people are going to be having this on the go. So if you're like passing by someone who also has their Switch 2, just being able to exchange data and I guess essentially be able to make a friend in a way through Street Pass would just be kind of a sick feature for the console. Feature number 8 is more of a feature that not a lot of people are going to use, but I think definitely could be useful, especially if you want to share with friends. But just being able to capture longer videos and a better resolution for video and image capture for the Switch 2, I feel like is a must-have. When it comes to the original Switch, you're only really able to capture up to 30 seconds of video. So I really hope that with Switch 2, they increase the amount of time that a capture goes for. Maybe it could be like 2 to 5 minutes, which might seem overkill, but if you go in and crop out what you don't want, I don't think it's that overkill. And when it comes to the better resolution, I feel like that this is a must-have, because when you capture a picture or a video, it's compressed a lot, so it doesn't look as good as you would hope. Because of this compression, I really hope that Nintendo goes in and just makes it so that when you're capturing something, say it's in 1080p, that maybe at the least it goes to 720p, and that it's not super compressed, so that you're able to better share your screenshots and better share your videos without there being so much compression. Because just being able to see more high quality image and video when sharing with other people would just be such a nice change with the Switch 2, especially with it being a much more powerful system. The second to last feature with number 9 is an achievement system. I think there was an article that came out that said that Nintendo said that there won't be an achievement system with Switch 2, but you know what? I'm gonna dream anyways, because I think that game achievements would be such a cool thing. This doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could literally just be inside the game. If you do something, you get an achievement in the game and it doesn't affect your experience outside of the game. But just like having, I guess, something to go for in games, whether it be like getting an achievement for 100%ing a game, or even like an example is getting like a specific time or lower in a Mario Kart time trial, would be so sick, because that would incentivize people to, I guess, get more creative with how they're playing their games and go for those specific achievements. Even if they don't do anything particularly, it would just be something for people to go after. And I definitely feel like that could help improve the player experience with games, because if people have a goal to go for, then there's a good chance that they're going to keep playing a game. And for the final feature I feel like that Switch 2 definitely needs to integrate is the Nintendo Today app. This is a bit of a newer mobile app where every day Nintendo will give you the news and just some updates on their upcoming games or just what's going on in other games. And I feel like that if they integrate this into the console, it can make for keeping up to date with Nintendo stuff a whole lot easier. Because I feel like if you're already playing on a Nintendo console and you want to keep up with whatever is going on with Nintendo, you're more likely to want to do that through the console itself rather than having to do it through some sort of mobile app. Because I feel like when it comes to Nintendo mobile apps, people aren't going to be more likely to open them up every day and see what's going on with Nintendo. Whereas if it's like an option or like a category on the Switch 2 home menu, people would be more likely to click on it if they're interested in seeing what's going on, as they're already on the Nintendo console. If they want to know more about Nintendo, they can get it from the Nintendo system that they're playing on. I hope that wasn't too much of a rant there, but I just hope that the Nintendo Today app can come to the Nintendo Switch 2, because I don't really feel like going onto my phone every day just to check with what's going on with Nintendo. So they integrate this onto the console, it'd be a whole lot more convenient. Anyways, those are some features I feel like that the Switch 2 need to have, or just that I would want to see on the console. If there's anything I missed or that you want to see on the console, please let me know down in the comments, as I'm curious, what are some features you want to see with the Nintendo Switch 2? That's all I really have for this video, but if you want to see another video by me, there's a video on screen now where I rank all the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch games, and I think you'll enjoy that. With that being said, I'm the biggest nub on YouTube, Chris Tendo signing off, and as always, goodbye, Nub Nation.